Hello, I'm Sam Carp, SportsPro's features editor, reporting from inside the main press centre in Port Mayo in Paris, and this is the Olympic Briefing. Now, just a reminder that this is the first of a series of special edition bite-sized podcast episodes that I'll be bringing to you during Paris 2024, where I'll be reporting on some of the latest news and developments during the Games, as well as sharing exclusive clips from some interviews I'll be doing on the ground here in the French capital. Now, Paris is basking in glorious sunshine today, but that wasn't the case on Friday, when the opening ceremony took place in torrential rain along the River Seine. More than 300,000 spectators braved the conditions as 85 boats transported the athletes down the river. We had cameo appearances from the likes of Rafael Nadal and Serena Williams, show-stopping performances from Lady Gaga and Celine Dion, as well as some more awkward moments, such as the Olympic flag being hung upside down. There was also some controversy, and Paris 2024 organisers have now apologised to Catholics and Christian groups for a scene depicting the Last Supper, which featured a transgender actor and some drag queens. There was an immense security operation in Paris during the opening ceremony, including 45,000 police and thousands of soldiers being deployed in the French capital to keep the zone where it was taking place secure. However, it wasn't actually Paris that ended up being targeted, as Thursday night saw a series of arson attacks carried out targeting France's high-speed railway network, which connects Paris with other major cities like Lille, Bordeaux and Strasbourg. State-owned railway operator SNCF said that more than 250,000 passengers were impacted, while 1 in 4 Eurostars were cancelled over the weekend. Based on my experience this morning, coming in from St Pancras in London, that service is very much back to normal. Despite some of those security concerns, Tony Estanguet, the president of the Paris 2024 organising committee, still hailed the success of the opening ceremony the morning after. Here's what he had to say when asked about security by Rob Harris.
We don't have any information that link this event to the opening ceremony, so it's not possible to tell what you mentioned. What is sure that security measures have been very, very strong and respected. And to be honest with you, many of people, a lot of people along the last 2 years believe that this opening ceremony would never happen on the Seine because of security reasons. But yesterday, we didn't have any single event in terms of security along before, during, or after this opening ceremony. It's been fantastically organized with the public forces, la préfecture de police et le ministère de l'Intérieur. They made a fantastic job. So for years now, we are working on this project. Of course, security was the priority, but they did it. We did it, and security was very high. And yesterday morning, when we learned about these SNCF troubles, of course, we looked how we will be impacted and how we have to react potentially on our side. For the football teams that could be affected, for instance, but we didn't suffer from any consequences for the opening ceremony, and the security was very, very strong, with a good atmosphere, and that was the challenge at the beginning, to secure completely this opening ceremony, but also to respect that it was the time for celebration, and it was the case.
Now, one man with a slightly drier view of the opening ceremony was BBC pundit Michael Johnson. Here's what he had to say about the opening ceremony when I spoke to him over the weekend.
They made an ambitious sort of plan to move outside of the traditional stadium, and I think for it to work really well as they wanted it to, and they had planned for it to, you needed to have perfect conditions, and obviously it was far from perfect conditions, which was out of their control with the rain. So I'm not quite sure it sort of kicked off the way they would have expected or hoped. But sunny day today, it's day 2. Yesterday was rain as well, almost all day. So sunny day today, day 2. So hopefully from here on out it gets going in the way that they intended. I think that's the one area, though, I think where it may have worked a little bit better for the athletes, despite the rain. I mean, putting that aside for a minute, I think, typically for an opening ceremony, you're kind of just standing and waiting for a very long time, and then waiting for, your country to march into the stadium. You do that. That's probably a good, for the U.S. team because it's such a big team. It's always, you know, 30 minutes or so just marching into the stadium. But then once you're there, then you're just standing for a long time again, waiting for all of the, the rest of the ceremony. And for those athletes who are early, waiting on all of the other countries, I mean, they're waiting for hours. But most of the athletes are just sitting there waiting for hours, standing in the middle of the infield, waiting for the cauldron to be lit and all of that stuff. So I think that this may have been a bit of a better experience, for the athletes to be able to, be on the boats, going down the Seine River, waving at fans and being a little bit more interactive instead of just sort of standing in the middle of the stadium the whole time. It looked like they were having a good time anyway.
Johnson, who's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, also recently announced the launch of his Grand Slam track league, which is going to stage 4 events every year starting from 2025. Here's what he had to say when I asked if he wanted those competitions to become the pinnacle of athletics alongside the Olympics.
Yeah, I think, it's one of the advantages we have with Grand Slam track is it is already the premier Olympic sport. Track and field is the premier Olympic sport, and, we don't want to change that. I think that's fantastic. I think it's one of the advantages we have is that, every 4 years when, the Olympics comes around, track and field is front and center and at the top of the list of sports that people want to see. It's the top of the list of sports that people think about, when they think of the Olympics. So we think that that's an advantage for us. Track has a very long and storied history. Some of our greatest moments, and myself included as an athlete, my greatest moments were at the Olympic Games. We want to add to that. We think that, what fans have experienced prior to now and prior to Grand Slam track during the Olympics is fantastic. But they have indicated that they want more of it. The casual fan as well that watches and tunes in during the Olympics wants more of it. And that's what Grand Slam track is here for.
Away from the track, last week also saw the 142nd IOC session, where Saudi Arabia was formally announced as the host of the inaugural Olympic eSport Games next year as part of a 12-year agreement with the IOC. It was also confirmed that the French Alps will host the Winter Olympics in 2030, followed by Salt Lake City in 2034. Generally though, the mood here in Paris seems to be pretty positive, largely thanks to the performances of home favourites like Antoine Dupont, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Leon Marchand, whose gold medals have got the host nation off to a flyer. That's all for the first edition of the Olympic Briefing, but I'll be back with more later this week.